All right, this lesson is about segment circle relationships. All right, we have two main ones that we will be considering. The first one, when two chords intersect inside a circle, we know part times part will equal part times part. So in this circle, R times M would equal D times K. So that's one relationship you need to know. On the other hand, when you have these secant segments that go outside of the circle, then it's part times whole equals part times whole. Now when I say part, it's the outer part times the whole equals the outer part times the whole. So D times K equals R times M. Okay, like this. Now on the other hand, if you're given the picture this way, where you're not explicitly given an expression for the whole, but you sort of have to make up your own, then part times whole becomes D, all right, because it has to be the outer part, but the whole is going to be D plus K, all right, the sum of the two parts. And then for the lower secant segment, part times whole is R times R plus M. So keep those two formulas in mind. Oh wait, one more spin on it. If I have a tangent like this, this is the same situation. It's still outside the circle. It's still part times whole equals part times whole. But, you know, the top secant segment is exactly the same. D times D plus K. All right, the outer part times the whole. Now this lower secant segment, because it is tangent like this, then the part and the whole are the same thing. So when I do part, I say R. When I do whole, I say R. So part times whole is R times R, which we would write as R squared. So watch out for that. So we're finding X. And I see we are outside of the circle, so I'm thinking part times whole equals part times whole. So that is 9 times x plus 9, all right, has to be the outer part, is equal to 15 times 15. 15 is the part and the whole. So a little distributive property here gives me 9x plus 81 is equal to 225. Subtracting 81 from both sides, that gives me 9x is equal to 144. Then I need to divide both sides by 9. Let's see, divided by 9. And that is 16. So x is equal to 16. So that is the answer for number 1. Number 2, once again, part times whole equals part times whole. So 4 times x plus 4. It's got to be the outer part when we do part times whole. And that's going to equal 3 times 8. All right, the whole is 5 plus 3, that's just 8. So a little distributive property gives me 4x plus 16 is equal to 24. Subtract 16 from both sides. So that's 8. Divide both sides by 4. X equals 2. So that's the answer number 2. All right, so for number 3, part times whole. So I've got part is the 4. Okay, now the whole is going to be x minus 3 plus 4. Okay, so I've got the outer part and then the whole. The whole is the sum of the 4 and the x minus 3. And that's going to equal part times whole. So again, I've got the outer part. Now the whole is going to be this sum. It's going to be x minus 6 plus 5, right? It's the sum of both of these. So this is going to make 4 times like x plus 1. All right, here I'm just combining like terms, right? The negative 3, positive 4, that makes positive 1. Same deal over here, except this time I get -1. All right, -6, +5, that's -1. Little distributive property, that's 4x plus 4. Distributive property here gives me 5x minus 5. Subtract 5x from both sides. That gives me -1x, or just -x, plus 4 is equal to -5. Subtract 4 from both sides. You get -x is equal to -9. But we need a positive x, so we divide both sides by -1. So that gives me x equals +9. And that is the answer to number 3. All right, part times whole equals part times whole. So the part is 4, the whole is x plus 4. Now, when I have a tangent like this, the part and the whole are the same thing. So it's 6 times 6, part whole. Distributive property tells me I have 4x plus 16 is equal to 36. All right, subtracting 16 from both sides gives me 4x is equal to 20. Dividing both sides by 4. Turns out x is equal to 5. Okay, number 5 is in the other situation of which we spoke. All right, part times part equals part times part. There's no part and whole this time. All right, it's just part times part. So we'll just take one chord at a time. So if you look at this almost horizontal chord, part times part, all right? I'm talking about 8 times 4x plus 2. All right, that's part times part. If I look at these other two, the other chord, then I've got 9 times 4x, part times part. All right, on this side I will do the distributive property. So I've got 32x plus 16. On this side I've just got 36x. So I would definitely, would not do that. I need to get these x's together. So I would recommend subtracting 32 from both sides, 32x. That's going to leave me with 16 is equal to 4x. Then I would divide both sides by 4. So I will get x equals 4. All right, once again for number 6, it's a part times part equals part times part situation. So looking at this chord, part times part is 4 times x. That's just 4x. All right, looking at this chord, part times part is, 5 times 8. So that gives me 4x is equal to 40. Now I divide by 4. X is equal to 10. That's the answer to number 6. All right, we're back outside the circle again. So this is back to part times whole equals part times whole. So it's got to be the outer part times the whole. So x times x plus 5 equals part times whole. In this case, the part and the whole are both 6. So a little distributive property gives me x squared plus 5x is equal to 36. Now, as soon as I see that I have x squared and x, I know I can't just get x by itself. So instead, I need to get 0 on one side. Now, very often this will factor, but if it doesn't factor, I can always use the quadratic formula. Now, as I look at the 36, I think of things like 36 could be 6 times 6. But it could also be 4 times 9. And it could also be 3 times 12. Or left one out, 2 times 18, or 1 times 36. Now, keeping an eye on the middle term, of positive 5. I am really liking the 4 times 9 option. Okay, if we do 4 and 9. If I do a negative 4 and a positive 9, inner plus outer equals middle, that'll give me positive 5. And negative times positive is negative. So this is how you factor it. Now I will get my solutions by setting these factors equal to 0. So x minus 4 equals 0 and x plus 9 equals 0. All right, adding 4, subtracting 9 gives me x equals 4 and x equals negative 9. Now x represents a length. You cannot have negative length, so this is extraneous. We're going to throw that out. So x equals 4 is the only actual answer to problem number 7. All right, number 8. Once again, this is a part times whole situation. Always starting with the outer part. So part times whole becomes 8x times, and now we're going to do 6x plus 8x. Okay, that's the part, and then the whole. And that's going to equal 7 times 9 plus 7. Well, again, it's the outer part and then the whole. So this will be 8x times, might as well combine like terms here. So what's that? 14x. Right. And that's 7 times 16. Okay, so let's see, 8 times 14 is 112, so I'll have 112x squared. And let's see, 7 times 16 is 112. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to divide both sides by 112. All right, and I'm going to get x squared is equal to 1. So, you know, taking the square root of both sides and everything. I'm having that x equals 1. So that's your answer to number 8. All right, so on problems like number 9, we will have to be more careful because we are not just finding x. We are finding, in this case, UW. So we will have to substitute the value of x back in to find out what UW is. So let's not forget that. But we're going to start by finding x though. So we're still doing part times part equals part times part. Okay, so that means, for example, 12 times 2x plus 5, right? That's part times part, equals 14 times 2x plus 2. I don't like my x's, so I'm fixing them. All right, a little distributive property. So that'll be 24x plus 60 is equal to 28x plus 28. I am going to subtract 28x from both sides. That's going to leave me with negative 4x plus 60 is equal to 28. Then I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides. And that will leave me with negative 4x is equal to negative 32. So when I divide both sides by negative 4, I'm going to get x equals 8. Okay, but that is not the final answer. We're supposed to find UW. Okay, so I need to take this 8 and substitute it back in. All right, so that is going to give me 2 times 8 plus 5. Shapow! 21. Okay, so that means this segment right here is 21. All right, so that's this. It's 21. Okay, but we already know that this part up here is 12. Okay, so we've got 21 and we've got 12. So UW, which is what we're supposed to find, is going to equal the sum of these. So UW is going to equal 21 plus 12, so that's 33. And that is the answer to number 9. Okay, and we're supposed to find Km. So again, we will have to take whatever we find for x and substitute it back in. But for now, part times whole equals part times whole. So that's 3 times, let me use the other kind of parentheses. Let me use a bracket. So I'm doing the outer part. Now the whole is 2x plus 5 plus 3. All right, it's the sum of these two, the 2x plus 5 and the 3. And that should equal the part times whole over here. So that's, the 4 is the part, and the whole is 6. All right, 4 plus 2. So what am I going to have? So over here I've got 3, and then this is going to make 2x plus 8. All right, I'm just combining these like terms here. And this is equal to 24. That's an equal sign, by the way. I could do the distributive property now if I wanted to. So that would make 6x plus 24 is equal to 24. Interesting. I will subtract 24 from both sides and get 0. So dividing both sides by 6, that gives me x equals 0. But that is not the final answer. We're supposed to find the length of Km. And that's this whole thing right here from here to here. So we're going to take that 0, plug it in right there. If I do, I mean, this is 2 times 0 plus 5. That's 5. Okay, that's just 5. So please understand that 5 is this distance from here to here. All right, that's 5. And then meanwhile, this distance is 3 from here to here. So guess what the total distance is? Yeah, 8. So Km is 8. All right, for number 11, we have to find the length of CE. So again, we're going to find x, but then we have to plug it back in to find the length of CE. So, first of all, though, part times part equals part. No, scratch that. We're outside of the circle, so we're doing part times whole equals part times whole. Okay, so looking at this secant segment, all right, the part and the whole, all right. Of course, the part is the outer part here, so that's going to be 9. Now the whole is going to be the sum of this and this. So that's going to be 2x minus 17 plus 9. So this is the outer part, and this is the whole. Now, similarly for the other secant segment, we're dealing with this right here. So for this, the part and the whole are much more straightforward. The outer part is 8, and the whole is 18, 10 plus 8. So we just have to solve this. All right, let's combine like terms in here. So I have 9, and then I have 2x minus 8, I believe. Yeah, and this is 144. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little distributive property here. So this will be 18x minus 72 is equal to 144. Then you want to add 72 to both sides. So that will give me 18x is equal to 216. And then it's time to divide both sides by 18. So that'll give me x is equal to, let's see, 12. All right, so x is equal to 12, but this is not your final answer. I need to take this 12 and plug it in. So I'm talking about 2 times 12 minus 17. That is 7. But that's still not the answer. All right, we are supposed to find CE. Okay, so we just found that the length of CD, okay, this we just found was 7. And we know that this over here, of course, is 9. So the whole length of CE is 7 plus 9, so that's going to be 16. All right, we're inside the circle again, so part times part equals part times part. So I'm talking about 12 times 4x plus 1 is equal to 14 times 3 plus 3x. All right, little distributive property is going to give me 48x plus 12 is equal to 42 plus 42x. All right, again, distributive property. I want to get my x's together as soon as possible, so I will subtract 42x from both sides. That's going to give me 6x plus 12 is equal to 42. Subtract 12 from both sides. I'll have 6x equals 30. And then I will divide both sides by 6. And that will give me that x equals 5. Now this is not the final answer. We're supposed to find CA. Okay, CA is this distance right here. Okay, so what we need to do is take this 5 and we need to plug it in right there. So that's going to give us 3 plus 3 times 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So this is going to be 18. Okay, so understand the following. So this right here is 18. That's what we just found. That's 18. This up here is 14. So I have 18 and I have 14. What's that going to be? That's 32. All right, this is another part times part equals part times part problem. So 6x times 12x, part times part, equals 8 times 9. All right, so that's going to be 72x squared is equal to 72. All right, of course, then we will divide both sides by 72. And we will have x squared is equal to 1. Taking the square root of both sides gives me x is equal to 1. But again, this is not the final answer. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in here and here. Okay, so 12 times 1 is just 12. 6 times 1 is just 6. So we're supposed to find WS. Wait a minute. Okay, come on. We're supposed to find WS, which is this part right here. Well, WS is just the 6x part. 6 times 1 is just 6. So that is the answer to number 13. Basketball. Okay, got a nice picture here. We will refer to the X's show the positions of two basketball teammates relative to the circular key on a basketball court. So these are two teammates. The player outside the key passes the ball to the player on the key. Okay, this player is passing to that player. To the nearest tenth of a foot, how long is the pass? Okay, how long is the pass? We have all these distances. Okay, so the pass is represented by this highlighted segment. All right, but we're missing a part of that yellow segment. We're missing this part right here, which I will call X. Wait, it's a little blocked. Maybe I'll put it over here. We're missing this part from here to here. All right, I'm going to call it X. So let's set up our little formulas. Part times whole equals part times whole. That's the situation in which we find ourselves. So part times whole. So it's the outer part, and then the whole will be x plus 6. So part times whole is equal to part times whole over here. Now the part is 5, and the whole is 17. All right, 12 plus 5. So little distributive property here gives us 6x plus 36 equals, let's see, 5 times 17, 85. Subtracting 36 from both sides. So that's going to be 49. Whoa. All right, obviously we need to divide both sides by 6. All right, but 6 does not go into 49 evenly. All right, so we got that. To the nearest tenth, one decimal place, that's 8.2. Got to round up. Okay, so x is 8.2. All right, 8.2 feet. Now this is not the final answer. That's just x. All right, so the true answer is the total distance right here. It's the 6 feet plus the 8.2. So basically I can come back here now and say, all right, this is 8.2 2. So if I do 6 plus 8.2, that's going to give me the final answer, which is 14.2 feet.